Hey guys, welcome back to our next book talk. The last one that we had was kind of heavy. We did totalitarianism and World War I and World War II. This is going to be a lot lighter. This is like fun with animals kind of thing. It's really cool. I've been looking forward to this. Now, if you take a look at the screen, you can obviously see I'm a huge fan of peanuts, whether I taught in New York or whether I taught down here in Tennessee. Kids always knew you better like peanuts, and if you don't like peanuts, keep it to yourself. One of the things I like about Peanuts is talking about Snoopy during World War I because he was a flying ace. We're going to look at a different World War I dog today, and that one is going to be Stubby. Now, if you want to take a look at Snoopy and what he did in World War I, you've got to take a look at the fiction section. However, the case that we're talking about right now with Stubby, this is going to be in nonfiction because he was a real, honest-to-goodness character that really did exist during World War I. Now, he started out as being owned by a man named Jim Conroy, and he was a camp dog. There were a lot of camp dogs. They were wandering around, and for the most part, people tolerated them. They fed them and things like that. But for whatever reason, Stubby became a camp favorite. When it came time for Conroy to ship overseas, he and a bunch of his buddies came up with the idea of having Stubby as a stowaway. Sure enough, they were able to get him onto the ship and across the Atlantic before the commanding officer actually found out where he was. Then what it was supposed to do is release the dog into the wild, but Stubby, he's so cool. What he did a trick that he had been trained to do. He got up on his hind legs and he saluted the commanding officer, melted his heart. He became a camp favorite. But Stubby was more than just a camp favorite where he was running around and having fun with the soldiers. He earned his keep. He had a very keen sense of smell, and more than once he was able to sniff out a gas attack before it actually happened. There's no telling how many lives were actually saved as a result of what Stubby did. In addition to that, after a battle, what would happen is the soldiers would go out to the battleground, and Stubby would go out to the battleground looking around for wounded as well. And very often, he would find the wounded that others were not able to find. He became a great comfort to those who were wounded and were waiting for other people to find them. Or sadly, he was a great comfort to the wounded who were waiting for their time to pass. And many of them, the last thing that they ever saw on God's green earth was Stubby. What a blessing he was to people like that. Another thing that he did, he actually caught a German spy. German spy had tried to sneak into their encampment. Stubby saw him, went running after him, bam, bit him in the butt, held him until others were able to come around and arrest him. As a result of that, Stubby was actually promoted to sergeant. How cool is that? Want to learn more about Stubby? We got the book right there, guys. You want to read it. Next, how about some bears? Well, let's talk about a vet named Dr. Harry Colburn. Now, Harry Colburn is going to come across a bear that's up for sale, a bear cub. Turns out that this hunter, not aware that there was a baby bear around in the immediate area, shot the mother. Now he was trying to sell the bear cub. He was selling it for $20. And he said, look, if I can't sell the bear cub, I'm going to have to release him into the wild. Dr. Harry realized that this poor thing had no chance of surviving in the wild all by himself, so he takes the bear cub for $20. Problem is, he's on his way to a Canadian base where they're going to be training to go overseas. He convinces the commanding officer that this bear would be great for morale, and what they do is the camp itself was set in Winnipeg. They named the bear Winnie. Winnie the bear. Now, wait a second. This has got to start to sound familiar. And sure enough, by the way, this is in our nonfiction section, guys. This is a real story I'm telling you. And as it turns out, the Disney character Winnie the Pooh was based on this character, Winnie the Bear. He was shipped overseas just like Stubby. He earns his keep. After the war, they're going to retire him to a zoo. In the zoo, a young man named Christopher Robin is going to come across him, and as they say, the rest is history. So we've done a dog, we've done a bear. How about a horse? Sure. Take a look at this book over here. It's called The Spirit of Steamboat, and right over there you can see Steamboat the horse. Mr. Teresa, I'm looking at this thing over there. I'm just seeing a plane. take a closer look. In the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see that picture over there. That's Steamboat the horse. Steamboat the horse, if you've ever seen a Wyoming license plate, that's his logo over there. Now, to set the scene, you've got to understand it's Christmas Eve in 1988 in the middle of a huge blizzard. A man named Lucian Conley is the last of the survivors who actually flew over Japan with the Daring Doolittle raid and launched an attack on Japan. He's in for the night. He's had a couple of drinks. He's done. All of a sudden, there's a knock on the door. He's being called upon to fly another last survivor, a young Japanese girl. Her family was in a tragic car accident. She's the only one that survived. But now what has to happen is we've got to get this young Japanese girl from where the accident was quite a distance away to Denver. Unfortunately, the child is in such a condition she would never survive an ambulance trip. So what they've got to do is they've got to fly that child from point A to Denver. Now, the doctor that's going to be going along with this child on this flight realizes that this poor girl, in order to survive, is going to need some very special equipment. They don't have that equipment. So what he's going to have to do along that flight is he's going to have to improvise and make this equipment in order to keep the child alive. The plane itself, are you kidding me? It was an old decommissioned B-25. It was in terrible shape. That plane was in worse shape than I am, and it was probably older than me as well, okay? And they've got to take this plane, and they've got to fly that plane in the middle of a monstrous blizzard. They've got to get this across the Rockies, okay? Oh, one last thing that I happened to mention, this pilot had only one leg, all right? And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, in order to fly a plane, you need both hands and you need two legs, because the foot pedals on board a plane are very important in steering the plane and maintaining the stability of a plane. That means he's got to fly this in the middle of a blizzard with only one leg when normally you're going to require two legs. How cool is this story? And the neat thing about this is it kind of like merges the plane with the spirit of Steamboat. After a while, you can't tell the difference between Steamboat the plane and Steamboat the horse. It is such a cool story. So there you got it, guys. Okay, we've got 3 good books. We've got them. You want them. Come get them, guys. Take care and enjoy your book talks.